Today, a Redditor shares a story of how they messed up by telling their mom they're upset they let their brother steal their life savings. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, today I messed up by napping after taking antibiotics. I have a mild lung infection, so on Tuesday my doc gave me a week run of antibiotics to try to kill it off. My cat's been very worried about me and keeps nipping at my hands or licking my face until I lay down, so after my evening dose yesterday, I laid down on the couch and let him curl up on my stomach and have a little nap together. We chilled for a few hours until it was time for bed. As soon as I stood up, I noticed my back hurt pretty bad, but I blamed it on the couch. Once I got back upstairs to bed though, it was obvious that everything hurt. My chest felt like I'd been punched, my back was screaming, my stomach hurt. I took some medicine and told my husband to go to bed and I would come up when I felt better. I did not feel better. I proceeded to flop about like a fish in agonizing pain until I realized it was 1 a.m. and I was getting worse. I called the emergency health line and the triage nurse said, "Hey, so bad chest pain is dangerous, go to a dang hospital," paraphrased. Pulled my husband out of bed and got to the emergency by 2 a.m. I was at pain level 8 or 9 by that point, and they gave me an IV but no meds, which also freaking ow. Unfortunately, the hospital was understaffed and also randomly overrun with dying people. The nurse was frazzled, so I only saw a doctor at 9 a.m. At that point, I'd been awake over 24 hours and 10 hours in please end it all pain, so I was barely coherent. The doctor listened to my story, gave me a few painful jabs in the stomach and told me, "You can't lay down after you take antibiotics. That's how you badly damaged your stomach lining and esophagus with stomach acid." Got some pain relief finally and just about cried from that. And then they removed my IV and freaking ow, way worse than putting it in. Got home at 11 a.m., lay down on the bed fully clothed, and just woke up feeling like a zombie. On the plus side, my heart is an A+ condition. TLDR, turns out you can cause actual damage to your insides if you lay down right after taking antibiotics. I didn't know that and spent 7 hours in the hospital in various kinds of horrible agony. So, is this an actual thing? I didn't know you aren't supposed to lay down after you take antibiotics. Okay, maybe this is a dumb question, but is there different types of antibiotics? Is it a specific type of antibiotic you can't lay down when you take? How does it matter? Can you not walk around? Wouldn't it still kind of jostle things the same kind of way? I don't know. I Am Snuggle Queen commented, "Imagine explaining to future you, yeah, I hospitalized myself by vibing too hard after meds." OP responded commenting, "I blame my cat. Only not really, because who could be mad at that worried little face?" Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy stories of how Redditors severely messed up, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, today I messed up by thinking I could just carry my bag through Amsterdam. I got into Amsterdam way too early for my Airbnb check-in. I figured I would just kill some time wandering around the canals with my suitcase and backpack. I didn't feel like finding storage, and I told myself it wouldn't be that bad, but actually it was. About 10 minutes in, one of the suitcase wheels got jammed in the cobblestones and snapped right off, so now, instead of rolling it, I'm dragging this half-broken lump that kept tipping over every few feet. Tourists were staring, bikes were flying past me from every direction, and I probably said, sorry, 100 times just trying not to take people out with my bag. Then the rain started. My jeans were soaked, my socks were squishing, and the bottom of my suitcase was literally shredding apart on the stones. By the time I finally made it to the Airbnb, I was sweaty, drenched, and my luggage looked like it had survived a natural disaster. So yeah, today I messed up by thinking I could just carry my stuff for a few hours in Amsterdam. The city humbled me real quick. You know, I was trying to think of something to comment on this story with, but the only thing that came into my head is, at least my lazy butt wouldn't be running into that kind of a problem. Genital Patton commented, "This is why I prefer hotels that hold onto your bags before check-in and or allow early check-in." Happy Charm replied, "There were a couple of times where I asked the Airbnb hosts if there was a place to put my suitcase because I would arrive earlier than check-in, and the response was, 'This is not a hotel.' I mean, yeah, I know. That's why I asked if it's possible to store my suitcase somewhere. Just say, no, there isn't." Our next story is, today I messed up by smelling a water bottle at work. I come from the Balkans, but I live and work in Germany. As you all probably know, Germany is a very multicultural country. So I have coworkers from all around the world. A few months ago, suddenly a bottle filled with what seems to be water showed up in one of the stalls in the men's toilet, in one of the closets with the words, "Please don't throw away," written all over it. My curious butt always wondered why there would be a water bottle in this particular toilet stall and why we're not allowed to throw it away. And my curiosity got the best of me. I opened the bottle and smelled it, not knowing what it might be. It was water, nothing special, no chemicals, no nothing, just water. I was now even more confused. Why would a water bottle be in one of the men's toilet stalls, and why was it so important that someone would have to write all over it that it shouldn't be touched or thrown away? But I figured it must just be some janitor's bottle for whatever they might need it for, and didn't give it much thought afterwards. Fast forward today, I'm doing my business in the exact same toilet stall where the water bottle was. Someone came in the toilets and tried to enter the stall I was in, but since the door was closed, I just said, "I'll be right out." I step out, and I see my coworker about to poop his pants, rushing inside and saying, "You're using my stall," in a joking way. I reply confused, "Your stall?" He goes, "Yeah, this is where my water bottle is," and shuts the door. I'm now even more confused, but didn't ask more questions because the man had to take care of his business in the toilet, so I let him be. 5 seconds later, it clicked. The dude is from Iran. It is part of their culture and religion for them to wash their butt with water after defecation. The bottle I sniffed out of curiosity is the freaking bottle he uses to wash his beehole after he poops. What's even more messed up is the fact that the dude probably used the same hand he cleaned his bee with to close the bottle cap, and I've touched it and held it 1 centimeter from my nose. I shared the story with all of my friends on Discord and my family. They all laughed at me hysterically and told me to post it here, so here I am, acknowledging my freak up. Don't smell random water bottles. You know, I was trying to think of something to comment on this story with, but the only thing my mind could go to was, I know my germophobic butt wouldn't be in trouble. It would maybe be one thing if it's like a friend's bathroom in their house and they have that like closet door and you open it. And I, for example, would have like a childlike wonder at like what all the products or containers are just because I'm dumb like that. It's another when it's a water bottle in a public bathroom stall that says, "Don't throw me away." You couldn't pay me to touch that thing. Well, you could, but it would take a lot of money. Strawberry commented, "Yet another problem that could be solved with 3 seashells." Our next story is, today I messed up by accidentally getting my neighbor's cat high and becoming the villain of the neighborhood Facebook group. Yesterday, I was cooking dinner and left my balcony door cracked open. My neighbor's cat, who I'll call Chairman Meow because he basically rules our apartment complex, just strolled in like he pays rent. I didn't think much of it. I was frying onions, scrolling TikTok, just vibing. Then I remembered I had some special brownies in a container on the counter from the night before. I went to grab one, and the container was already open. The cat ate half. I immediately panicked. I googled, "Can cats get high?" And my search history now makes me look like Pablo Escobar's veterinarian. I wrapped the cat in a blanket burrito and rushed him to the emergency vet. The vet tech looked at me like I just tried to assassinate Garfield. $600 later, the cat is totally fine. Actually, better than fine, because now the entire neighborhood knows about it thanks to the Facebook group. My neighbor posted something like, "Some irresponsible person got my sweet Chairman Meow high on drugs. Be careful who you live next to." Now half the comments think I'm a menace to society, and the other half are tagging their friends saying, "This is peak apartment living." The kicker is that Chairman Meow came back this morning and scratched my door until I let him in. This dude is literally trying to break into my apartment for round 2. So now I'm the neighborhood's accidental cat drug dealer. I think I told the story in the relatively recent past, but there was a time where somebody was making something related to a lovely influencing plant in my house, and for whatever reason they threw out some like scraps or something in the backyard. The dog ate it. For the rest of the night, they were as still as a rock on that person's bed, and also peed the bed, so I guess they got what they deserved. Giraffe Parking 7730 commented, "My wife accidentally got our dog high. She's a rescue Frenchie, and we're pretty sure she was starved wherever she was before, because she will tear into anything you leave in her reach. We found canned food that she's bitten into. Anyway, the dog disappeared one day. I thought she'd gotten out of the backyard and run off. We were out scouring the neighborhood, made a post in the local Lost Pet Facebook group, etc. She finally shows up that evening, just casually walking inside the house, but she's stumbling around and walking weird. We call emergency vets, but nobody's open. We decide if she's still like this in the morning, we'll take her then. Except my wife then finds the package of edibles she keeps buried in her purse has been pulled out and devoured, leaving everything else in place. The dog had gotten high as a kite and slept the day away under a bush out in the backyard. Suffice to say, even the edibles stay in a tall place the dog can't get to now. Our next story is, today I messed up by rearranging my bedroom. So my boyfriend of 3, almost 4 years, lives in a pretty small place, and after a year, I've decided to rearrange everything in our bedroom to see if it looks better. My boyfriend plays guitar, he was in a band before we moved, so we have a bunch of guitars. I don't normally touch them since I'm afraid of messing them up. He has cases for most of them, so I just put them on the bed so they would be safe. My only worry was the dogs jumping up onto the bed, so I made sure the dogs were kicked out of the room. Everything was going good. I reorganized the room, and I gotta say, I like it so much more, and then I messed up by dropping a guitar. It was in a case, so I tried to calm down. I opened it to see it was not only my boyfriend's late mom's guitar, but the neck was snapped. He comes home in an hour, and there's no way for me to fix this. This is unforgivable, and I know that. I know he'll be completely wrecked, and I know nothing will fix it. Update, we broke up. Just kidding. I just wanted to put something interesting instead of the lamest update ever. It was already broken. I was trying not to cry as I told him, and he just laughed at me. Apparently it broke when we moved states, and he swears he told me. He swears he tells me a bunch of stuff he never does. Like when he was electrocuted and I found out years later because I made a joke about him being scared of wiring, and he was like, yeah, because I was electrocuted. Didn't I tell you? So I know I'm not the one that forgot. Thank y'all for calming me down a little. I mean, unless OP actually forgot, there was no way to know. And, I mean, it's an honest mistake, if not a potentially costly one. Like, I imagine they could probably fix it somewhere, maybe, right? No? Okay, I just Googled it, yes you can, but it might be costly. But it was a mistake through and through, and at least OP was upfront and honest about it. OP could have done the whole thing where they close up the case and pretend, how did that happen, when they find out later. Deconed commented, the neck breaking from a drop while in a case is hard to believe. Was the case not closed, latched, zipped, and it slipped out during the drop? If it was inside a case and you had it open to check, maybe it was already broken inside it in the first place and he just didn't mention it to you? Also, you're 100% not an idiot for rearranging the room. Maybe kind of an idiot for dropping a guitar case. Was it too heavy for you to handle carefully? Did you try to move it with one hand, or? OP then responded commenting, yeah, lamest update ever, but you're right. When he came home and I was trying not to cry telling him what I did, he just laughed. Apparently it's been broken since we moved the states. Was it too heavy for you to handle carefully or try to move it with one hand? That part unlocked the teenager part of my brain. No idea why the implications of a guitar being too heavy made me annoyed, but nah, homie. I got muscles. I just had a meat hook to the arm a couple of years ago, and now my hand just kinda sucks at holding things now. It's better than it was, but at certain angles it just still sucks. Our next story is, today I messed up by not knowing I'm a Goofy Goober from SpongeBob was based on an actual song. I was at a party and gathering. I knew some people there, but I didn't know a lot of people there since I was invited by some friends. People were playing music on a speaker, and eventually one of the songs that pop up is this old song called I Wanna Rock. As it played, I started realizing how similar it is to I'm a Goofy Goober from the SpongeBob movie. I said to some friends, now realizing this way too loudly, is this just the song from the SpongeBob movie? My friends and people around us started laughing at my comment. My friend loudly explained that I'm a Goofy Goober wasn't an original song and was parodying an old song. As they explained, this just allowed more and more people to hear the conversation and break into laughter. Embarrassing. In fairness, I don't listen to music that much, and legitimately, I'm unaware a popular song even exists until I hear it in a movie or some other context. Like, obviously, All Star, Holding Out for a Hero, Live and Let Die. I know his songs from Shrek. The Immigrant Song and Guns N' Roses. I know his songs from Thor. A ton of songs I refer to as songs from Guardians of the Galaxy. I remember when they were advertising that new Lilo and Stitch movie, all the ads kept playing the song going, "Stitch is back, alright." I remember thinking, that's pretty catchy. Just found out that was from an actual song. To be fair to OP, I'm also not like the most well-versed person in music. I don't like listen to a lot or like explore a lot. And plus, to be fair, a lot of us were pretty darn young when the SpongeBob movie came out or when we finally got around to watching it. Not all of us were listening to Twisted Sister at that point. Like, we got better things to do than sit around and listen to music all day, right? You gotta be able to answer the question, what do you want to do with your life? Coffee commented, now you know you're a goofy goober that wants to rock. Our next story is, today I messed up by finding Tinder emails on my mom's phone while my dad was in hospice. Throwaway, don't need anyone I know finding this. This all happened a few months back. I was helping my mom go through my dad's emails and accounts since he was put on hospice and we had to prepare for the worst. I was getting the confirmation email sent to her personal email and would usually check her junk email if nothing came through. When I went to see if any ended up there, all I found were 4 emails from Tinder telling her that her account would become inactive if she stayed off the app for too long. I immediately deleted them after finding them, not bringing them up to literally anybody as I don't want to cause drama. I've seen how losing my dad has destroyed my mom. I don't think she would ever cheat in a time like this, especially knowing what she's gone through leading up to this, but it certainly doesn't help. I'll probably never get an answer to why they were though. Did someone sign her up using her email? Did she sign herself up years prior? I'll probably never know. To be honest, I just needed a place to put this, get it off my chest, because I remember it every so often and wonder why they were there. I definitely get needing like maybe just a place to get it off of your chest. Like, it's probably just not even worth like worrying too much about, obsessing yourself over. Like, who really knows what the case is, but you don't have to insert yourself into it. Vita Sprite commented, grief/the grieving process is weird. Like someone else said, maybe she wanted to see what was out there while thinking about losing her partner. Maybe your mom wanted some validation or attention while not being able to get either from dad while his health has been declining. She didn't entertain any matches or respond to any messages, just attention or validation farmed. Maybe she was cheating and now doesn't have the time since she's chosen to prioritize taking care of your dad or his affairs. No pun intended. Maybe your parents were swingers, or had a hot wifing kink and they used Tinder together. What you do know is your mom's account didn't seem to have match or message alerts and has been inactive long enough to be deactivated. You can always talk to your mom, but you need to be ready for an answer you won't like, and maybe not for reasons you expect. Our next story is, today I messed up by swearing profanely in a call of 300 people, thinking I was muted. We had a routine company town hall call. I decided to join through my phone with AirPods while tackling a small DIY task on my flat's front door. It seemed like a great idea. I could listen in and get something simple done. As my neighbor passed by, I pressed on one of the AirPods to disable noise cancellation so I could say hello. What I didn't realize was that this also unmuted me on Zoom. At one point, there was a pause in the presentation. Right at that moment, I'd noticed I'd hammered slightly offline, and the panel was now permanently stuck in the wrong place. My instinctive reaction was to mutter, "Mother FSH," and of course, it came through crystal clear to the entire call. The reaction was immediate. A few senior staff chuckled, and the presenter himself cracked a joke. Did I forget to mention someone in my previous slides? The chat soon filled with laughing emojis. Almost instantly, someone muted me. Thankfully, the call was about positive results, so everyone was in a good mood. Still, I just pretended it didn't happen, although I wish I could make an acknowledgement of this somewhere, as I missed my chance during the call. All I can say is, if this happened to me, I would be mortified. This is the kind of thing that, goes against every social anxiety fear I have. For probably at least a solid week straight, I would be laying in bed, mourning and reliving the fact that I made that mistake over and over, even if it didn't affect anybody and they all just kinda moved on like nothing happened. Chris Twofer commented, "It's really no big deal. They laughed. Just make an excuse and apologize if it's really eating you." We had a dude rip butt into his mic clear as day. Everyone laughed. He apologized. Boss said, "Poop happens." Everyone laughed again. Our next story is, today I messed up by admitting to my mother that I'm angry that my brother stole their life savings while my husband and I struggled to buy groceries. Alright, well, buckle up. This is going to be long. None of my close friends or family know that I have a Reddit, so I'm hoping this doesn't get back to me. I grew up modestly. However, around my late teenage years, my parents' career boomed, and we were certainly considered well off. I mean, both my older brother and I got luxury cars as our first cars and didn't bat an eye kind of well off. My mother specifically was very high up in the business world, and I practically grew up in her office, filing paper, roaming around offices, and had my first paying internship at her company at 15 years old. My brother also had the same experience. Now, that's not to say our lives were easy. We didn't start our lives off with money, but even when we had it, there was a lot of other trauma. At least for me, that I can't speak on directly. However, my brother, let's call him A for now, always had a very sinister side to him, ever since we were little. I mean, A would lock me in the closet for hours under the guise of playing cops and robbers, would even chase me around the house with knives and stab the wall next to my face as a scare tactic. He would torment our cousin by taking duct tape and taping him to his computer chair, end squirrels with a BB gun, and all of that just for laughs. My mother grew up in a foreign country extremely poor and came to America with nothing more than $5 and a chance at a new life. She became a self-made millionaire and climbed the corporate ladder, the true American dream. In exchange, she wasn't around as much growing up and really only knew how to show her love through material possessions and gift-giving. For a while when I was young, it would suffice, but as life hit like a punch in the gut at times as I grew up, I just yearned for that close emotional connection and support. I just never really had it. I turned to substances at a young age and spiraled to rock bottom for years and years following. I eventually managed to get a college degree. Determined to not take any handouts from my parents or any easy jobs I know I could have gotten, I decided to pursue a career I had no connections in. I've been successful, truly. I've reached many goals in the last 8 years of my career, got clean and stayed clean, got married, bought a home, a car, and just kept doing the next right thing because it's what I was told to do. My brother A, on the other hand, has fallen deeper into an addiction that my parents have ignored for far too long because I was already the family's black sheep and scapegoat. They couldn't have two. I mean, what would people think, right? Appearances are far too important, and having to admit that both your children are freaked up addicts is a hard pill to swallow in their world, so they coddled him. Even though he's 4 years older than me, and granted, yes, he did finish college with a business degree from an Ivy League university, my mother's alma mater, that she donates substantial amounts of money to, yet had never worked an honest day's work in his life. He has taken so much from them. Stolen my father's social security number to get apartments, take out credit cards, business loans, would Airbnb apartments he was renting out in New York City, which he's been caught by the police doing more than once, and now my parents are currently being sued by the last one because they signed as a guarantor for the apartment and he didn't pay rent while Airbnb-ing for 12 months. And even moved into their luxury apartment complex to get close to them so he could steal more whilst falsifying documents to be approved to move in. A has always had one grand business idea after the other that my parents have always supported because that's just how they are. But they can't see his true motives. Get rich quick, no work, just straight to success, which baffles me because that's not how we were raised. We actively watched our parents work hard for what they earned. During his latest scheme, along with stealing, manipulating, and lying, he's made off with over $2 million of my parents' retirement and have left them $3 million in debt. I've tried for the last year and a half to do what I can to get them to take it to court and report him to the IRS for fraud, but to no avail, as one parent is willing but the other is not, and both need to be on board. Now here's where I freaked up today. I have a great job, I make good money and live in a relatively cheap state, but my husband changed careers last year, and lately his pay has been decreasing. I was up for a promotion at the time, so I didn't think it would impact us too much, but due to my field and cuts made by our current government admin, I didn't get the promotion, and things are only getting more expensive, and we've had far too many emergency expenses due to now owning a home that have caused me to dip into savings just to cover them. I spent 8 years saving $20,000, and as of last week, that savings is at $3,000. I manage all the household finances, as I'm the primary source of income, and I don't want to stress my husband out, so I've just been carrying this stress. This month, I hit my breaking point, realizing I couldn't even get us a full week's groceries and pay our electric and car insurance. I typically call my mother at least 3 to 4 times a week, but have been unable to for the last few weeks. I'm just so stressed with everything that I didn't want to unload my feelings on her, but I had no choice. I eventually had to respond today. So I called her back, and we start speaking as normal, and she mentioned a court case from the lawsuit because of my brother, and I lost it. I told her exactly how I felt. I told her that I see my brother post on social media gallivanting around with socialites and famous people partying without a care in the world. To add context, my parents have cut him off since the last stunt, and I'm angry. I'm angry I did everything right. I did what I was supposed to, and I had a great life, but now I'm struggling, and the one time I have to fall on financial security my parents have always promised me, I don't have it. I don't have it because he stole it, sucked it dry, and manipulated them all because he wanted to seem like he was this hot shot for the scum he surrounds himself with. I got emotional and started crying, and she started crying, and I hated that. I feel like a jerk for making her feel bad about everything because it's not really her fault. It's my brother's, but I just can't help but be angry at everyone. I feel like I'm drowning and have no one to help me, and the person who caused it is facing zero consequences. So that's it. That's what I needed to get off my chest. I mean, hearing it all from OP, I can't fault them. I can't blame them. If I were in their shoes and I'm especially going through a rough patch and there was supposed to be like some kind of safety net that my parents could provide, but it's gone because they were manipulated and swindled by the same dumb kid over and over. I mean, how couldn't you feel some type of way about it? I feel like it's pretty understandable. Galaxy 1985 commented, "Man, you're just like your mom. You're trying to shield everyone by throwing yourself on the sword, and all you're doing is making everything worse. Maybe if you had spoken up and told your parents they were failing when they enabled your failing brother, doing the lost everything. Now who's going to support them in their old age? And why aren't they pressing charges on them? You haven't learned anything, you're just repeating what they did. Hiding things from your husband is not okay." Our next story is, today I messed up by borrowing someone's car for 5 minutes and blowing the transmission. This happened a few years ago, but I had to share it because to this day, I still can't believe it happened to me. I was at church and I started talking to this cute boy who I'd seen a few times before this. We realized that we lived at the same apartment complex, and I found out he drove an older 2006 Honda Civic stick shift. I learned how to drive on a stick shift, and it had been a few years since I'd driven one, so I asked if we could trade cars for the quick drive back to our apartment complex after services ended. Since we were bantering back and forth a little, he agreed but jokingly made me pinky promise I would give him my car if anything happened to his. I of course agreed since I knew nothing would happen. Boy, was I wrong. He drove off before me, and I eventually followed, slowly getting used to driving stick shift again. Within a minute or two, I was feeling confident as ever and stupidly started filming a video of my driving adventure. As I went to shift, I didn't get it in the right gear and heard some grinding. No matter, I'd done that in previous cars, and it had never been an issue. Well, that quickly proved not to be the case this time. Almost immediately, the car started slowing down and wouldn't accelerate when I pushed the gas. I pulled to the side of the road and tried restarting it to no avail. Words cannot describe the absolute dread and embarrassment I felt as I had to call this boy and asked if it was a normal thing for his car not to run properly. He quickly drove back to me, and after trying to start it himself, we determined it was completely broken. We drove back to our complex in my car, where we parted ways to call our respective fathers to see what they thought we should do. In the end, he ended up having to get the car towed to a mechanic who replaced the transmission because I guess in the 5 minutes of me driving, I'd blown it. I have never been so embarrassed in my life. The only plus side to the story is that I became this guy's personal Uber driver while his car was in the shop, which got us talking more. He told me I could repay him by taking him out to dinner, which I happily did, and now 4 years later, we're married with a 1-year-old. And no, he still hasn't let me live this down. The end. Now, I'm not a car expert, but I don't think shifting gears caused that car's transmission to fire. Well, explode. I don't think OP's the one at fault here. I think that crappy 2006 Honda Civic is at fault here. It feels downright cartoonish how OP's now partner leaned in and said, "Okay, but if anything happens to the car, it's your fault and not mine," and immediately runs off, hops in OP's car, and drives right off immediately. I could imagine them having the evil villain laugh as they speed off into the sunset. Legend 7 Natty commented, "Dude didn't charge you the cost to replace the transmission because he already knew it was crapping out on top of what other mechanical issues it had. You were just the unlucky one who happened to be behind the wheel when it happened instead of him." But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Today I Messed Up story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.